Project 7B will introduce you to something called step and repeat. When a commercial printer prints business cards, they never print one card at a time. They gang them up. The smallest run I've ever seen is 4 up, and that would be an array 2 cards by 2 cards on a 4 by 7¼ inch sheet. 1/4 inches for gripper to allow the press to grab it to pull it through the press, and these would be run on very small presses that are called duplicators rather than presses because they don't have the massive side frames of commercial presses. Quick print places like Speedy or Postal Instant Press, small shops, have duplicators rather than printing presses, and they can run small jobs that don't require tight registration or a lot of coverage. So those are the kind of presses that are used for short run business cards. For quality larger runs, it might go on a larger press like the 14 by 18 Heidelberg Speedmaster that you saw in the video visit to a commercial printer. We are going to do multiple card impositioning for cards numbers 5 and 6. Your instruction sheet gives names for executives and sales staff. The sales staff get the color card because they're the face of the ZYX Corporation to potential clients, and the board members get the more formal 2-color card. Before I do that, there's a couple of things I want to clean up on my 6-card set because, as you may recall, I discovered when I got to card 4, I think it was, that I had not used soft returns on card 1 right here. This should be a soft return, and that should be a soft return because this should be treated as a paragraph. If I use hard returns here, it will duplicate all the parameters for this first line, which include a 30-point space before. So this should be soft returns. I made the same mistake on cards 5 and 6, so I'll go to them now. 5, this should be soft returns. This should be soft returns. Soft return. And I'm going to Command A, select all, Command C, copy, and down here, Command A, Command V, paste to just quickly fix that one. Before you do anything with 7B, you should check and make sure that everything is correct in your 7A file, including checking that you have color separations turned on, and make sure that this logo on card 6 with the 4-color process picture is a 4-color process logo. I'll turn off Pantone 186 on this plate. Nothing should happen because it is a 4-color process red to match Pantone 186. And on card 5, I want to be sure that this, if I turn off 4-color process, I still have that ZYX, which shows in black here to indicate there is ink there on that channel, which is Pantone 186. This is showing ink or no ink. Likewise on card 6, if I turn off those and just have the black on, this is showing in grayscale, but that converts to dots on the plate, different size dots, which are either ink or no ink, a binary state. Having verified that I have 2-color and 4-color where they're supposed to be, 2-color on card 5, 4-color on card 6, I can now set up my multiple card imposition. I'll talk a bit about why they're different. Here I have a 3.5 inch by 2 inch rectangle representing a business card. If I add more of them, they are all butted together, so the document I have set them up on is the correct size for 10 business cards. It is 2 business cards across, which is 7 inches, and 5 business cards down, which is 10 inches. And the reason we do it 10 up is because this is the most we can fit on an 8.5 by 11 sheet. And if the printer has pre-cut cardstock in 8.5 by 11, all he has to do is print these and then trim them out based on the trim marks. If we're doing a multiple imposition of card 6, it has bleeds on 3 sides. So if I change these to 3.75 by 2 1/4 to reflect the bleeds, you can see that that's a problem. That's going to overlap. We need more space. So the card setup for card 6 has to be twice 3.75 inches wide and 4 times 2 1/4 inches high because that's all we can fit on an 8.5 by 11 sheet. Now it's entirely possible that the printer would print 2 10-up forms with bleeds on a 14 by 18 sheet, which would fit on that same printing press you saw. But for now, we'll assume that this is going to be on an 8.5 by 11 sheet, and therefore the maximum we can get on would be 8 cards, and that has to be 2 cards wide and 4 cards tall, for a total area of 7.5 by 9 inches. But we don't need a document setup for that because this includes the outer bleed. All we need is a document setup for as wide as 2 cards plus the 2 1/8 of an inch bleeds in between them. So that's 7 1/4 inches. And it needs to be as high as 4 cards, which is 8 inches, plus the 3 spaces in between them of 1/4 of an inch each. So that's 8 3/4 inches. Margins should be the same as they were on the business cards. We're not actually going to use the margins, but having margins that match the business card make it easy to be sure that your cards are positioned the same as they were on the original. So that would be the actual size of that business card, and it would have to have, command option P, industry standard bleeds of 1/8 of an inch. If I match these to the bleeds here and these to the bleeds here, these all butt together. Okay, so that's how that would set up. Once I'm sure that everything is correct on my business cards, especially cards 5 and 6, and especially whether or not I have 2 color on card 5 and 4 color on card 6, I'm ready to set up my multiple card layout for card 5. Command N, new document. This will be a print document. It will not be letter size. It will be 7 inches wide, that's 2 business cards wide, by 10 inches tall, that's 5 business cards tall. We will have a 3/16 of an inch margin on all 4 sides, same as the business card. We don't actually use it for anything other than making sure that our cards are positioned correctly on the 10 up. The bleed will be the industry standard 1/8 of an inch, and the slug area will be 3/8 of an inch, and that will be on all 4 sides, and it should look like that. I'm going to eliminate these colors because I'm not going to use any of those colors. So I have my 3/16 of an inch margin guide inside the page. I have a 1/8 of an inch bleed guide, and I have a 3/8 of an inch slug guide. The next thing I need is guidelines to make sure all of my cards are positioned correctly. So I'll go to my master page, pages. I seem to have made this facing pages by accident. I really meant to make this a single page, so let's fix that. If you made the same mistake I just did, you can go back to your document setup and make sure that it is not facing pages. And this second master page, what we call the verso master page, right side page of a book is recto, left side is verso. It's on like the reverse of the recto side. Delete that. Okay. Clicking here to make sure I'm on my master page. It says A master there. This is highlighted in blue. Down at the bottom, it says I'm on my A master page. I need guides. I need a center guide that is in the middle between 2 3.5 inch wide cards, so that would be X 3.5 for the position of that one. I need guides at 2 inch intervals going down the page, so I'll drag one down here to the 2 inch line. Did I make it? No, I missed. Click that up to 2 inches. And I could manually put in some more guides, but this is a good time to start using step and repeat. Step and repeat you will find in the edit pull down right there. Control Alt U on the Windows operating system or Command Option U on the Mac. I need 3 more of those step vertically at 2 inches. Check my preview, that looks correct. And I need one more thing. Well, actually I need about 10 more things, and they are trim marks. The trim marks tell the printer or the printer's bindery person how to cut these cards apart. I'll use the line tool. For color, I don't want cyan and I don't want black. What I want is registration color for the stroke. The fill color doesn't matter because a straight line has no fill. Registration color is what is used for registration marks, and that means that every plate that is produced, every negative or plate that is produced, it puts the same marks on every one of them in exactly the same position. On a 4-color process job, your registration colors are CMYK. They print 100% cyan, 100% magenta, 100% yellow, and 100% black so that the same mark appears on every plate. We do the same thing with the trim marks. If we have a 2-color job, let's say I have 2 spot colors. Let's say I'm using this color. I'll add that, and this was trendy a few years ago. Let's say that one. Let's say I'm printing in these 2 colors and I have no black. If I have a black line for my trim marks, let's say that's a trim mark there. Let me go to slug preview, separation preview, turn my separations on, turn off my process colors. I have no trim marks. But if my trim mark is in registration color, it prints on every plate. So that's why they're registration color. I would like the trim marks to be a thickness of 1/2 of a point. I really don't need big thick trim marks because that makes it less precise. I'm going to step those the same as I did the guidelines, Command Option U, 3 times at an interval of 2 inches. And I could do the same thing on the other side, but isn't it easier just to take the 4 of these, start dragging them across, hold the Shift key to constrain, and when I get to the other side of the slug area, hold the Alt key and then release the mouse button. So there's my first set of trim marks. I'm going to put vertical trim marks in, although they really aren't essential for a chop cut when all these cards are butted together, because the registration mark, the center registration mark, is right there and they can use that as a guide. But I'll put it in anyway, and I'll make sure that that's a 1/2 point. And I'll Command C copy and go down to the bottom and Command V paste and then snap that to my guide. I'm going to make sure that the guide is centered at exactly 3.5 inches. This one up here, make sure this is centered at exactly 3.5 inches. And that takes care of my guides and my trim marks. So that's my master page. And the reason I put this on a master page is I want to make sure I don't accidentally move them when I'm laying out the rest of the job. I'm going to go to page number 1. It only has 1 page. If I needed to do more of these, let's say the ZYX Corporation had 36 employees and I needed to do at least 4 sheets of 10 up, I could put a bunch of stuff on the master pages and only have to put names and phone numbers in on the other pages. Going back to card number 5, I need to copy this and make sure I get it into exactly the same place. I could do that looking at my numbers up here and get that position exactly the same. What I usually do is just drag a rectangle here that matches either the card or the bleed guides. Let's say do the bleed guides. And then select all, Command A, select all, Command C, copy. Go over to my 10-up document, Command V paste. I'm missing something here. Oh, I'm in separation preview. I need to get out of separation preview. Command V paste and snap this to the bleed guide and then delete the rectangle. There's a good reason to have the margin guides. I know because there's a margin guide there that this is in the correct place. If I had left it as a 1/2 inch margin, I'd have this margin guide down here that doesn't mean anything in terms of my layout. Okay, I need 4 more of these vertically. Command Option U. You can actually set this up as a grid, and let's say there's 5 rows and 2 columns, and step them at 2 inches and 3.5 inches horizontally, 2 columns. But you have to change names on these things, so it would actually be more efficient if we don't use a grid, but just add 4 of these at 2 inches. And then go to your instruction sheet and see what the names and titles of the executives are, and for each of them, change the name and the title and the email of one of these cards for each of those 5 executives. Name, title, and email. And once you've done that, select them all again and Command Option U, step this 0 vertically but 3.5 horizontally. Verify with the slug preview that we've got trim marks everywhere. So we've ended up with an extra one of those down here. Get rid of that. Make sure that everything's there. Check your separation preview and make sure that you have, I'm missing a logo. Huh. Okay. Not sure how I did that. Notice that because everything here is on the master page except for my card logos and nomenclature, I can just drag across here and select all 5 of those, and then Command Option U, step them across at 3.5 inches. I'm going to check my separation preview here and make sure that I have Pantone 186 logos and black ink, and that's all. And I think now that I'm done with that purple and teal demonstration, I'll delete those colors because I don't need any colors in the job that I'm not actually using. And that's it, it's done. You would save that as your last name, DL7B, and Command E export. Save it as your last name, DL7B, as a PDF. And this will be the commercial print standard, PDF X1A 2001. Compression will be normal, no change from the defaults. Marks and bleeds, all marks and bleeds. Use document bleed setting. Include slug area. You don't have to worry about this. If we were doing this for a commercial printer, probably it's going to be in a small sheet fed press. It might be on uncoated stock. It might be uncoated stock. We'll say it's coated. Advanced, you can ignore that. Security, please ignore that. And summary, it tells you everything you put in there. I have view PDF after exporting open, so export, and there it is. It has trim marks, it has registration marks, it has all the trim guides that I put in addition to the standard trim marks. And once again, if you go to Tools and find Print Production, turn on your output preview, and again make sure that if you send this file in, the logos are Pantone 186. And black and nothing else, and that the trim marks are registration color and show up on both plates. If I turn this off and turn on my cyan, yellow, magenta, I should see nothing in the print area. And also check and make sure when you're stepping and repeating your trim marks that you don't actually put some trim marks into the middle of the print area somewhere, because if they show up in here, they would look like a black smudge on the edge of a stack of cards. You make sure that nothing is anywhere near what is actually trimmed out if it's supposed to be on the outside of the page. And that's the end of that one.